Okay, welcome back, committee members. We're going to reconvene, and members of the public and that are here. This is the Joint Conference Committee on House Bill 1, where we had some time over the lunch hour to re-educate ourselves on the amendments and what was contained as we have new committees. And so I think, Madam Chairman, as we left this morning, that perhaps there might be some amendments or positions coming from your side, and we have some on ours that maybe we could start working through the bill. I don't know if it's permissible for you. Maybe we've been working and have things, maybe we could just start with page 1 and work our way through, and if there's amendments we have, and then we'll just make those notes and get them done. Is that permissible?
Mr. Co-Chairman, I think that's a great idea. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Richards, before we start, any guidance? I would maybe remind the committee that when we vote, we'll have to use our hand. We don't care, right or left. And so that our staff can take account on the position. So, Dawn, any further guidance that you would provide for us? All right, with that in mind, I think we'll start on the Joint Conference Committee. We'll be using the summary sheet that I hope all the members of the committee have available. Are there any proposed actions on page 1? Senator Jones, please.
Sorry. For the identical amendments, I move to adopt number 1, delete number 2, delete number 3, adopt number 4, adopt number 5, delete number 6, delete number 7, adopt number 8, adopt number 9, delete number 10, delete number 11, adopt number 12, adopt number 13, delete number 14, delete number 15, adopt number 16, adopt number 17, delete number 18, delete number 19, adopt number 20, adopt number 21, delete number 22, delete number 23, adopt number 24, adopt number 25, and delete number 26.
Thank you, Senator Jones. And just for those who are here and watching, these are the identical amendments, meaning that we had House and Senate amendments that were exactly the same, and so we have to adopt one and delete the others. And what it appears Senator Jones has done is very strategically gone down and adopted one, deleted the other, but we have to take action on all of these. Committee, any questions on this action? Those in favor? Dawn?
Mr. Chairman, because this is a free committee and because House Third Reading Amendment number 74 was adopted in your technical corrections, it would just be easiest to have us delete and further amend that with the technical correction. You will see both sides have the same technical correction. My point being only that it won't show up in the adopted list. It'll actually be in the text of the report with that correction, if that's acceptable.
So we'll adopt that. Thank you. So those in favor of the Senator Jones's proposal and with the technical change by staff, those in favor, raise your hand. And those opposed, if any? Senator Dockstader, did you want to vote on that motion? Okay. Was that I'm taking that's an aye? Thank you. Okay, thank you. Committee, if we may move to page 2. This is on item 27 is the delete and further amendment that we was referring to. Dawn, is that correct? And so we've, again, just in case we miss that on the first, all of those in favor, and we'll let them do their technical changes. Those in favor of that motion, raise your hand. And those opposed, if any. The same action, this has been in consultation with me and the chairman with staff. We've got to delete and further amend. Oh, we deleted number 27, and we should delete and further amend 28 on the technical changes, right? So I need to amend that last vote to delete number 27 and delete and further amend as they provide the technical changes. Once again, those in favor of that motion, please manifest. And those opposed, if any. Okay, I think any further action on, that takes us through 28. Any further action on page 2?
Line 29 is,
Senator Driscoll.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry about lack of protocol. But on item number 29 is a delete.
That deletes second read amendment to increase general funds of 500,000. Everybody understand the motion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed, motion carries. Any other actions?
Mr. Chairman?
Representative Walters.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Noting that items 30, 31, 32, and 33 are all quite similar, I would propose to delete item 30, or excuse me, I move to delete item 30, delete item 31, delete item 32, and delete and further amend item 33. And the amendment is that I would like to reduce the $1 million reimbursement for locals to go assist in border patrol or border control to $750,000.
Moved by Representative Walters, second by Chairman Nicholas. Representative Walters, could you just, for those who are watching, and could you just give us a brief summary of what that does?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is in regards to various actions that both the House and the Senate took in regards to how Wyoming can aid our states on the southern border in their control of folks coming north. And so it's of my opinion, I think, that the best thing we can do is reimburse our local law enforcements when they are able to assist in those efforts, mainly because most of those dollars will then come back to Wyoming and be spent. And so it's the best way Wyoming can contribute and still maintain our healthy economy.
Okay. Committee, any questions? Those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed, if any, motion carries. Further action on page 2.
Mr. Chairman.
Representative Stith.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt item 34, which is House third reading amendment number 1, which provides $5.5 million general fund. This is the emergency response team and also for the what's also known as the bomb squad.
Do we have a second? Thank you. Moved and second. Question on the motion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed? Okay. Next motion,
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Guru, if you would, please.
Yes, sir. On number 35, I would move to adopt Senate Second Reading Amendment number 5 from the Secretary of State's office, which deletes the footnote.
That was a footnote restricting the activity of the Secretary of State.
Yes.
Second from Speaker Summers. Any questions? Those in favor of the motion, so manifest. Those opposed, if any, motion carries.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Representative Stith.
I would move to delete item 36, which was Senate third reading amendment number 3. This provided funds to pay for the cost of publication if we had had a resolution passed for a constitutional amendment, but those funds are no longer needed as we no longer have any pending bills which would provide such a resolution.
Do we have a second? So Representative Stith, remind me, it seems like we anticipated being up to around 171,000, and then the last bill that had a constitutional amendment died yesterday, so the need for that is gone, is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, that's my understanding, yes.
Does everyone understand the motion? Those in favor, raise your hand. And those opposed, if any. That takes care of page 2, I believe. So I'd like to move on to page 3 of the summary sheet. Any action here?
Mr. Chairman?
Senator Drew?
Yes, number 37 at the top of page 3. Like to delete House third reading amendment number 4, which is adding the footnote to funds shall not be used by the state auditor, state treasurer, and state superintendent of public instruction to engage in outside litigation outside the state, like to delete.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, and Senator Drew, that's similar to the last action you made, which took restrictions off Secretary of State. This does it off the other elected officials.
Yes, sir.
Everybody understand the motion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed, motion carries.
Mr. Chairman?
Representative Walters?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move to delete items 38 and 39. And with a second, I'd explain.
Second by Nicholas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This, in item 38, it's a concept in which the state treasurer would have been able to utilize up to $15 million for low-interest, first-time homebuyer mortgages not to exceed 3.5%. Good idea. Not sure that the state should be competing with our private industry. 39 simply changes the funding source from the PMTF reserve account to the legislative stabilization account. So they're closely tied, but the concept is really contained in number 38. And as I just described, I'm just not sure that's something we ought to be doing. So again, I would move to delete 38 and 39.
Heard the motion. Any questions? Those in favor, raise your hand. Opposed, if any? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman?
Chairman Nethercott.
Thank you. Items 40 and 41 are together, and I would move to deny item 40 and adopt item 41 and further amend. And this is for the Wyoming Military Department for the transfer of lands within Camp Guernsey, and it transfers $15,100,000 from general fund in order to complete the exchange of lands and allow for those monies to be placed in the Common School Foundation Reserve account.
Thank you. Second and second.
Is there a difference?
Dawn, please.
Thank you. I think it was the appropriate motion to delete and further amend versus adopt and further amend.
Did I say that?
Mr. Chairman, I believe the motion was correct, adopt.
Yeah.
And then separately, because we're in an open committee, she is asking to amend by transferring a like amount to the Common School Permanent Land Fund Reserve account.
Correct.
That's what I heard her say.
I did have one quick question here. This amendment is actually two pieces. There's two different exchanges. The first exchange is for $1.749 million, and that's actually a sale. The second is a 40-year lease in the amount of $13,357. So is it the full 15 that you wanted put into the reserve account, or the 13,357? It could be either. I just want to be clear.
My motion is the full 15.
Okay. We agree. We agree. Everybody understands the motion. Thanks for that correction. Thanks for the clarification. Chairman Nethercott, those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed, if any, motion carries. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Chairman Nethercott.
Thank you. I would like to delete item 42 which is House third reading amendment. Number 6, which is $100,000 to the Attorney General's office, increasing the general fund for a third-party contractor to investigate mailers.
Been moved and second. You've heard the motion. Those in favor? Those opposed, if any? Thank you.
And, Mr. Chairman, I would move to delete item 43, which is House second reading amendment number 50, which is an appropriation of $285,000 from the general fund for the addition of 1 full-time employee to be used to investigate cold cases in the Attorney General's office.
Second? Second by Representative Nicholas. Thank you. Any questions on that motion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. Those opposed, if any. Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman.
Speaker Summers.
Mr. Chairman, on item number 44, I would move to delete and further amend Senate second reading amendment number 13, which was the Arboretum, where the Senate deleted the $5 million. And so this delete and further amend would leave $3.5 million in for the Arboretum.
Thank you. So again, the Senate removed the $5 million. You delete that amendment, which would have left $5 million, and then you're reducing it down to 3.5. Do I have that accurate?
Correct.
Everybody understand the motion? Those in favor, raise their hand. Those opposed, if any. 2 opposed. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
President Driscoll.
I have 45 and 46, which are both, line 45, 46, they're related reaction, both related. They're both deletes. These have to do with the state engineer and the Board of Control and how they're funded, and these deletions move them back to the budget position.
Okay, thank you. And so we had addressed this in the budget. You're acknowledging that and leaving that unchanged. Is that correct? Everybody understand the motion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed, if any. 1 opposed. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Speaker Summers.
Mr. Chairman, on items 47, 48, and 49, they're all related. And so that is the money for weed control into the Wildlife and Natural Resource Trust Fund. So on item 47, that would be a delete Senate second reading amendment number 16. 48 would be a delete second reading amendment number 19.01, which is probably a division. And 49 would have been a delete and further amend House second reading amendment number 15, which had $5 million in it and would reduce that to $4 million.
Been moved and second. Senator Guru.
Just a question to the bringer on this. So that leaves the total at
9.
9. Okay, just want to make
So
sure I had it right.
I would remind the committee and the public, you'll recall we had a governor's letter for invasive grasses, and we sent that, his recommendation was to put that in the Wildlife Trust Fund. It come out of the JAC budget at $5 million, and in the actions of the body, it was amended to an additional $5 million. We've just adjusted that additional $5 million down to 4, so a total of 9. So any further questions on that motion? We'd also note that we eliminated the requirement of a 3-to-1 match that was in the House. So those in favor of this motion, so manifest. Those opposed, if any. Motion carries. I think that has us to the bottom.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Don.
My apologies. Before leaving page 3, item number 44, there were at least 2 opposed, and we didn't catch the vote on this.
I believe the 2 opposed was Senator Dockstetter and Senator Jones. If that was different, then they can correct me. Thank you. That was on the Arboretum vote. Okay, let's flip over to Let's flip over to page 5, or page 4, right? Page 4, jumping ahead, we're on page 4.
Mr. Chairman?
Representative Walters,
Thank you,
please.
Mr. Chairman. I would move to delete items 50, 51, and 57. And these are all related to procedures occurring. If I get a second, I'll explain. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. These are all related to one another, and they're related to procedures that the Department of Health may or may not fund. And in my opinion, the budget bill isn't a place to be making social statements. And so let's keep it to the numbers, and that's why I say I move to delete again 50, 51, and 57.
Okay. Those were all House, one Senate and 2 House amendments we were deleting, and it was seconded by Senator Guru, I believe. Any questions or conversation on this motion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed, if any. Those opposed, Senator Dockstader and Senator Jones. If the committee will bear with me, I've got a few emotions. I'm tearing up, and it's such an emotional event. I've got a few motions here that pertain to the Department of Health, which is an agency that I have on the Appropriations Committee. I would move that we adopt second or third reading 81 on item 52. I would move that on item 53 that were we going to adopt that or delete that? We were going to delete and further amend to change the funding source. And change that down to 12.290329. Is that correct? Don, did I get that correct?
Mr. Chairman, I think it's 12,290,328.
328. I missed that dollar. So on those first two, and then that would delete, then I would delete item 54. Item 53 and 54 are on the DD preschool funding. We adopt the Senate's position on that, and those will be out of general funds. So on those first 3 items, if there's any discussion,
Second.
I'll try to answer. Those in favor of that motion, so manifest. Those opposed, if any. On item 55, there's House second reading amendment to add $1 million into Wyoming Home Services that I would move that we delete. And I would make a motion on item 56, which was similar into the aging division of the Department of Health to add $314 million into the senior citizens grants. We had provided an additional amount of $200,000 in the bill, so that $314,000, and we'll delete that amount because we put $200,000 in the budget. So any questions on those two?
Second.
Okay, those in favor, so manifest. Those opposed, if any. I think Representative Walder's done 57, so on items 58 and 59, these are related amendments to the Department of Family Services when when a rebasing was done for group homes, crisis beds, BOCES. That recommendation came back that and JAC adopted was 75% of the rebasing recommendation. These 2 amendments put that funding into the full rebasing amount, and so my recommendation is on both 58 and 59 is to adopt those motions and adopt those amendments. Thank you for the second. Those in favor, so manifest. Those opposed, if any.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Clark, Representative Stith, I apologize.
On item 60, I would move to delete item 60, which is House third reading amendment number 13. This would have provided 1.15 million general funds and 4.75 federal funds with respect to the summer electronic benefit transfer within the child nutrition program.
It's seconded by Representative Nicholas. Any questions on the motion? Those in favor, so manifest. Those opposed, if any. Yes, President Driscoll, please.
It's with great regret that I got three related amendments, 61, 62, and 63, that eliminate the mammoth jackstock donkeys, the jackass amendments.
President,
Pulls them back out.
President, can I just ask you to pause on that and make, are you sure?
I think I'm sure.
Okay. Any question? Greatest idea of the section. I just love that thing. Any question on this motion? Those in favor of the motion, so manifest. Those opposed, if any. So for those of you who are out there that, that was really a unique idea, but one of the biggest concerns is if they started populating the area, then we're trespassing on the federal lands and they're the state's animals, and we get ourselves into a pickle.
Actually, a great idea, but not fully thought out.
Yeah.
So, next two amendments are related, 64 and 65.
65 is on the next page, right?
Yeah,
Yep. Okay,
65
thank you.
goes into the next page. This is the Wyoming Oil and Gas Commission with their major maintenance and planning, and it merely deletes those two and goes back to the budget position on them.
Thank you, and I think the issue is in the budget bill, we had, in section 300, we're trying to get the Oil and Gas Commission to develop a
Correct.
major maintenance schedule for their building in Casper.
It is, and they'll
Yeah.
still happen, but deleting these will leave it alone.
Any questions? Those in favor of that motion, so manifest. Those opposed, if any. Senator Jones, I'm going to ask you, was that a for or against? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Representative Walters.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On item number 66, I move to delete. Thank you, Mr.
Seconded by
Chairman.
Representative Nicholas.
What this deletion of item number 66 will do is it will allow the Board of Tourism to work with our communities and spend up to $2 million of tourism dollars providing grants to local communities for the 250th anniversary of the United States Declaration of Independence. Again, this is not general funds. This is tourism income account dollars, and for $2 million, and that would be available with the deletion of item 66.
Second by President Driscoll. Any questions on that motion? Those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed, if any. President Driscoll.
Item 67 is another Wyoming Tourism Board. This is delete and further amend, and what this amendment originally did was provided $500,000 for Wyoming Tourism Reserve Project accounts to distribute in an event at a Wyoming airport. This actually is one of the areas we've gone outside of the budget on. We're moving it from 500,000 to 2.5 million. In the meantime, while the budget was Casper, I can actually say the name, has moved into one of the finalists to this event. And this actually makes the state have a much better chance of attracting this. So it's going to be match money. It is not grant money. It's match money, 2.5 million. And it comes out of tourism, so we're not spending general fund dollars. It's promotion in Wyoming.
And Representative in second, and Senator Driscoll, as I understand that, and you can correct me, I think that this is to host being an ongoing host of the National Air Championship air races that historically, as I grew up, was held in the state to the west, 2 states to the west of us. And because of that growth of the city, they are relocating it and
Correct, Mr. Chairman.
Is that right?
And that's going to happen this year. It's actually kicked out of that city you're talking about. And they're actually looking, they're down to 3 now. And we're we're looking good. This is hopefully gives us a boost to get it there. And we've got some incredible money already coming in on the outside on it.
Mr.
So,
Chairman,
Senator Nethercott, Chairman Nethercott.
just confirming that this is other funds coming out of the tourism account.
it is. This is it's not state, it comes out of our tourism dollars.
Question being
Please.
called? Question being called.
Oh, well then let's vote. Those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Can't get past me, can you? Those opposed, if any. Okay,
Mr. Chairman?
please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to delete item number 68.
Second by Nicholas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is in regards to a feasibility study for a Veterans Museum in Casper. The museum already exists. There's been past studies done to see how it could be expanded. Really, it's the time at some point in the future we want to expand it. It's ready to kick off and expand. To do another feasibility study probably isn't appropriate. We just have another study on the shelf, unfortunately. And so at this time, again, I would move to delete item 68, which will remove $150,000 from the budget.
Thank you. Representative Walters championed that for the first few years he was on this committee.
Many years.
Those in favor of this motion, please show a sign. Those opposed, if any. Thank you, motion carries.
Mr. Chairman,
Please, Senator Dockstetter.
under 69, Senate third reading amendment number 12, move to delete. This adds footnote 12 that beginning in 2027-2028, the University of Wyoming shall develop and submit a budget request consistent with how state agencies submit their budgets. This is a deletion, Mr. Chairman.
Second by Albert, by Speaker Summers. Any questions on the motion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Or raise your hand. When you raise your hand, is this?
Does it mean we vote?
Hello. Okay, thank you.
We get to vote twice.
We get to
say
vote
aye and
twice.
raise our hand.
Those opposed, if any, raise your hand.
Mr. Chairman,
Please, Senator Dockstetter.
under number 70, Senate third reading number 13, under University of Wyoming, the motion is to delete, adds a footnote 12 that specifies condition of these appropriations. UW will not expend any general funds, federal funds or other funds under its control for any gender study courses, gender studies, academic programs, gender studies, or gender studies in general. And that's the motion.
Second by Nicholas. Questions by the committee? Those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Those opposed, if any. Senator Dockstetter, Senator Jones on the as nays.
Mr. Chairman, under 71, motion to adopt Senate.
Senator Dockstetter again, it's on item 71.
Yes. on
Thank
se-
you.
Mr. Chairman, on 71, motion to adopt on Senate third reading number 14. This is to decrease by 1.7 million general fund, adds a footnote of 12 that specifies no funds from the state aid and endowments and matching appropriations shall be expended on the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at the University of Wyoming.
Second, questions on the motion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed, if any.
Mr. Chairman, under 72, motion is to delete for Senate third reading amendment number 15. Under University of Wyoming, 250,000 general fund, adds footnote number 12, specifies 250,000 appropriated for the UW Family Medical Residency Practice for purposes of adjunct faculty, counselors, and other resources for veterans, mental health, medication, et cetera.
Second, questions? Those in favor, raise your hand. Before we vote, raise your.
Mr. Chairman, 72 and 73 are almost identical, so if you wanted to handle those together.
We'll go ahead and vote on 72. We're getting better at raising our hands. So those in favor of the motion on 72, raise your hand. Aye. And aye, yeah. And ears, and those opposed, if any. So Senator Dockstetter, would you like to make a motion on 73 then?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, on 73, motion is to delete 3725, or excuse me, House third reading amendment number 18. This increases $250,000, adds a footnote 12, specifies $250,000 appropriated for UW Family Medical Residency Practices, almost identical, with the exception of other resources for prenatal care for pregnant mothers and other veterans' mental health.
Those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Those opposed, if any.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, number 74.
Please.
Motion is to delete third reading amendment number 18 in the Senate. This is, adds footnote number 12 that specifies condition of the appropriation for UW that they shall not work with the Wyoming Corp Improvement Association and the Joint Ag, State, and Public Lands and Water Resources Interim Committee in developing an MOU, another agreement for operation administration oversight of the Wyoming Seed Certification Service.
Second by Nicholas. Any questions? Those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed, if any, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, under number 75,
Please.
House, second reading House Amendment number 25, motion is to delete. Adds footnote 12 that specifies a portion of the appropriation shall be expended by UW to review opportunities for acquiring property in neighboring states or near regional medical teaching centers, and requires a report to 3 legislative commitments. Again, that's committees. That is a motion to delete.
Motion to delete. Questions on that motion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed, if any.
Mr. Chairman, number 70.
So let's just clarify. I think that cleans up page 5. We're on to page 6. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Senator.
Mr. Chairman, number 76, House reading, second reading number, amendment number 63 under University of Wyoming. And this has been deleted by H0002A. And essentially it was appropriating the University of Wyoming for the family medical residency practice, and specific $100,000 shall be effective to the University of Wyoming. That's for deletion.
Would you just take care of 77 while you're at it? That's similar.
Okay, very similar, 77. Motion is to delete under House for third reading amendment number 82 under University of Wyoming, deletes H2063AC. Very similar.
So if I understand that, Senator Dockstander, that last one was referenced in the first one, and that's why we're taking care of both of them.
Correct.
So those are, any question? Those in favor of that motion, please raise your hand. Those opposed, if any, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, 78, third reading amendment, House third reading amendment number 56 under University of Wyoming. Motion is to delete and further amend. This adds footnote number 12 that specifies a portion of the appropriation shall be expended by the university to review opportunities, feasibility, and costs associated with expanding medical education and training for Wyoming students, including broader use of WICHE, expanding the agreements with Wyoming, and new relationships with public universities in the western region of the United States. Also increases $1.3 million and amends the footnote number 1 to increase the appropriation to a total of $2 million for new student WICHE contracts. And the motion is to delete and further amend.
And to further amend, we were going to reduce that amount, I believe then, if I heard you correctly, down to 250,000.
Correct.
And then we had a motion, I believe in the budget bill, we had an appropriation of around 700,000, and then this would be an addition on to that as adopted. So questions on this motion to delete and further amend? Those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed, if any. Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman,
Please, Representative Stith.
I move to delete item 79, House second reading amendment number 27 in the Wyoming Business Council that would have appropriated $250,000 general fund to complete a feasibility study regarding the creation or expansion of generic drug manufacturing.
Any questions on that motion? Those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed, if any. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Please, Representative Stith.
I move to adopt item number 80, Senate third reading amendment number 21. The amendment decreases $2 million of general fund inside this same agency, the Wyoming Business Council, regarding an economic development laboratory.
Questions on that amendment, or questions on that motion? Those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed, if any. Seeing none, thank you. Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman,
Please, Representative Stith.
I move to delete item 81, which was House second reading amendment number 28. This would have specified that of the appropriation to the Wyoming Business Council, that $8 million would be for infrastructure improvements for housing.
Second by Representative Summers, or Speaker Summers. In Representative Stith, I think our conversation, our understanding is that agency has the ability to move forward that direction without this. So any questions? Those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed, if any.
Mr. Chairman,
Please.
I move to adopt item number 82, House Third Reading Amendment number 21, also in the Wyoming Business Council, which is a footnote regarding a technical feature regarding how the agency prepares its budget with respect to the State Small Business Credit Initiative.
So, second? So we have a second. So Representative Stitt, this footnote that we're adjusting is one that was adopted by JAC in the budget bill, correct?
Mr.
And
Chairman,
just amends that language?
Mr. Chairman, that's correct.
Okay. Question on the bill, or question on the motion? Those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed, if any.
Mr. Chairman.
Please.
Mr. Chairman, on items 83, 84, and 85, which all deal with the Wyoming Stable Token Commission, I would propose to delete item 83, delete item 84, which was Senate Third Reading Amendment number 23, and to adopt Senate Third Reading Amendment number 24. And essentially, when the dust settles,
Thank you.
when the dust settles, the Stable Token Commission is funded.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Any question on this? This is basically a new agency into the system, correct?
Mr. Chairman, that's
They
correct.
come to us with first biennial budget request. Those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Those opposed, if any, thank you. Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman.
Speaker Summers.
Mr. Chairman, on item 86, I would move to delete House Third Reading Amendment 57, Division 1. And that was basically a study of early childhood education, and the Department of Education could assist with that anyway. So, motion to delete.
Questions on that motion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed, if any. Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman,
Thank you. Please.
on item 87, I would move to delete House Third Reading Amendment number 26, which is a statewide survey of districts on suicide prevention.
Okay. Is it your opinion they can do that without this?
That is my opinion.
Thank you. Any other question on this? Those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Those opposed, if any.
Mr. Chairman,
Please, Speaker Summers.
I would move to adopt Senate Third Reading Amendment number 26, which is to reduce the FTEs in the Department of Education by 1.
Seconded by Stith. So I believe we added in some positions into Department of Education, and the Senate's amendment would like to see a reduction and give her the option to remove an FTE position as she felt was appropriate. Is that correct?
Correct.
Any question on this motion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed, if any. I think that has us complete with page 6. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Representative Summers is top of page 7, I think.
Mr. Chairman, on item number 89, I would move to adopt House Third Reading Amendment number 27, which amends footnote 1 to specify that any expenditures by the Department of Education pursuant to this footnote, which is the FFA, be documented and included in the Department of Education standard budget for the immediately succeeding fiscal biennium.
Thank you, and I didn't hear you say, you referenced an educational organization. Who is that again?
I did reference the FFA.
Future Farmers America.
That's correct.
Thank you. Great organization. Those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Those opposed, if any. Thank you. President Driscoll, please.
Next items is 90, 91, and 92. All three of these are related. All three have to do with 2 second reading, 1 third reading amendment from the House. Wyoming Gaming Commission, these are all special revenues, so these are all funded from within the department's own revenue. The First Amendment increases $350,000 special revenue for 1 full-time equivalent and adds a footnote specifying the $350,000 and 1 FTE of fiscal year 2025 only, and for a director and executive secretary for the commission. The next amendment, which is 92, increases $343,200 special revenue, adds a footnote specifying this amount and up to 5 part-times are for race day staffing and operations for parimutuel events. And that was further amended by the third reading amendment that makes it effective immediately. So once again, all these funds are internal funds that are generated out of the gaming industry and are used for race day events.
Seconded by Speaker Summers, and it appears that this is in response to the expansion and growth of racing and historic racing in trying to.
It is. They've grown by another operator, and they're growing exponentially, even in the racing, and they have to have the staffing if we're going to continue
Trying
to
to manage
race.
that. Any questions? Those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed, if any? Hey, there's no messing with the staff.
We need to take a break for a roll call vote on the House.
Madam Chairman, if you would please pardon us, we needed to take a little break anyway, so we'll be back in 15 minutes. Thank you. And I believe we're on probably around item number 93.
Thank you, Don.
Mr. Co-Chairman, I think probably for the purpose of the hour, we can maybe start. Yeah, I think so.
Committee, we're going to go ahead and get started. I think we left off as we rushed down to save the free world as we know it today. We are on the middle of page 7. Oh, we're on the middle of page 7, I believe, or thereabouts. And Senator Co-Chairman Nethercott, I think you had indicated you might have a motion here.
Mr. Co-Chairman, I do have a motion. We are on item number 93. We have moved into capital construction for members of the public who may be listening. This is a delete and further amend. This is from House Third Reading Amendment 30. We are adding back in $55,800,000 of federal funds for the military department for the Guernsey entry facility and the military department for the F.E. Warren Power Station of $51 million. This is authorization for the expenditure of federal funds and doesn't use any state dollars. In addition, we are removing the appropriation for the Riverton office building, which reduces that appropriation down to $28,856,676. We are appropriating $7 million for capital construction projects administered by the State Parks and Cultural Resources. We are adding a new Section 300 to reappropriate funds to the Wyoming State Hospital demolition account. We are allowing for the reappropriation in a new Section 300 of funds to the State Construction Department for the Riverton State Office Building. This is not new funds, but simply allowing the funds previously appropriated to be used in that remaining account. And we are reverting $10 million previously appropriated to the CWC Jackson Outreach Center, allowing them to keep $1 million and reverting $9 million of that for community college matching funds. We're also adding an appropriation of $2.5 million to the town of Riverton, Wyoming, for a community recreation center.
Second. Thank you for that explanation. Any questions by the committee? Second by Representative Walters. Those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed, if any? Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
please.
if I may continue to item 94, which is a delete and further amend, and if I can draw your attention, committee, to item 104. These both go together. And item 104 is a delete, and I'll explain that deletion first on item 104, so it makes sense. This is House Second Reading Amendment 34 to Section 300, which was a $25 million other fund appropriation to the Broadband Access and Deployment Account, commonly referred to as the BEAD account. We are deleting that $25 million from the BEAD account and connecting those monies at 25 million back to item 94. Item 94 is the girls' school in Sheridan, Wyoming, commonly referred to as Stolt Hall, for its demolition. And so we are deleting and further amending item 94 to use that $25 million previously appropriated in item 104 from the BEAD account to be applied to the girls' school in Sheridan. Any remaining funds of that $25 million, the difference of that $25 million and the $37 million would come out of that other funds account.
Second.
So just a lot of moving parts there. So Mr. Richards, did we connect all the dots there? We moved that 25 million of reversions that was intended to broadband that we were going to delete, and we're moving that over to item number 94 and reducing that S13, that SIPA appropriation from 37 million down from that amount by 25 million. It brings us the amount ends up being the same. It's just we're using 25 million of reversions in the remainder of SIPA, correct?
Mr. Chairman?
Please.
Mr. Chairman, just for clarification, do we need to also authorize total project cost of 37 million, or is that already stated?
Mr. Chairman, I think it will be stated, I'm envisioning this to be in the table, and the sum of those two numbers will be totaled at the $37,014,172.
Thank you for the clarification.
And as we've noted in previous conversations, as we reviewed this, this is for demolition and construction for the whole enchilada there. So thank you.
We have connected the beads.
Yes. So any
here all
questions
night,
on
here all
that,
night.
on that complex motion there? Those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed, if any. One opposed, Jones? Thank you. All right, 90, yes, please. Senator Guru.
Adopt, just adopt, right? Yep. Okay. Number 95, move to adopt House Third Reading Amendment number 32. And this is the capital construction for $33.34 million of private resources. So this is no general fund outlay. Capital construction for Gillette Community College District Property Transfer 1, District Gillette Community College District Property Transfer number 2. So this is just to authorize these, to acquire these properties. And that is number 95. Move to adopt.
Second by Walters and Nicholas. And Senator Crew, is my understanding correct that these properties are for the Gillette Community College, but currently the title is in the city of Gillette's title in their name, and this is just authorization to move that title to the Nauta College, and I think they had some when they were part of the Sheridan Community College. Am I getting that accurate?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Any question on that motion? No general funds, just authority to move that. Those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed, if any.
Mr. Chairman,
Please, Madam Co-Chairman.
I would move item 96, where we would be deleting House third reading amendment number 33, which is a removal of the appropriation of $69 million to the Department of Health for the Veterans Home remodel.
Second by Nicholas, and Chairman Nethercott, remind me, it sticks in my mind that we've appropriated around $27 million to hold of the state's portion of that domiciliary construction, and that's at the, in the Veterans Administration being held in our slot. We were going to front load the federal funds and get that done ahead of time with the 69 million. We still can receive those federal funds, so we're just not going to build it ahead of when we get those reimbursed funds. Have I got that right?
Mr. Chairman, that is exactly correct. So we are going to remain hopeful that we will receive some federal funds to help fund this project.
And we hope it's soon, it needs it. Thank you. Any further question on that? Those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed, if any. I think that was an aye, wasn't it, Stacy? Thank you. And one no with Speaker Summers.
Mr. Chairman,
Please.
I would move item number 97, which is, and delete and further amend House Bill third reading number amendment number 88. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the budget balancers that we do every time we do a budget. And so going to the action on section 300, budget transfers, the amendment will be to modify the 14.5 million, because we don't know that number yet. And so what we will do is decrease in an amount to be as much as possible, and transfer from the SIPR to make 100 million transfer to the permanent mental trust fund not effective immediate. So that's just, we'll fill in that number once we know that number to the maximum extent possible. And then the second remains the same as provided. It adds section 300 to amend its 2022 Wyoming Session Laws, Chapter 51, Section 300B, to the end of the biennium, transfers from the BRA to the LISRA to any funds over 300 million. That basically stops the sweeps. And then the other amendment will be to the last section of that, because we're going to reduce it by as much as our actions of this committee make possible. So we'll eliminate that 152 million, and that will insert the number at the conclusion of our actions. And so we'll specify that the state auditor shall transfer funds from the LSRA to bring the unobligated unencumbered balance of the BRA up to a certain amount. Did I get that right, Don? Okay.
So, members of the committee, this is an action we take every year to adjust and make corrections, but we can't get all of that done till we see what all the final actions are. And so we've just authorized staff to do that, and we'll know the correct numbers probably tomorrow at some time or whenever we finish up the budget bill. So any other questions? Those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed, if any. Senator Guru.
Yes, 98, like to delete, further amend Senate second reading 47th Amendment. This is the $200 million put in the large school capital construction account, I'd like to do is amend that by moving $150 million of S5, that's the school foundation account, and move that to budget section J, Romanet 4, for the Rock Springs High School demolition, planning, demolition, and reconstruction? No,
Construction and demolition.
construction and demolition, sorry. Construction and demolition for Rock Springs High School, and like I say, that's on page 130 of the budget, but section J4.
Second.
Senator Jones, did he get that right?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
question for the bringer, would be considered friendly, you say demolition, would you also consider allowing the district to dispose of it in some manner? So we could say demolition or disposition, would that be friendly to you, sir?
That's what I meant, thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Ripson.
Senator Jones, you're good? Okay. Any further? Okay, Don, please.
Just a clarification, you have 50 million remaining that was not, does that just stay in the school foundation program?
Yeah, it does.
Thank you.
Is,
Can't take it with you.
thank you. Questions? Those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed, if any. Thank you. That motion passes.
Mr. Chairman,
Please.
got a addition, so it would be 98.5. 98.5, yes. And this would add a new,
You're making the rule.
what's that?
You're making the rule, sounds good, 98.5.
98.5. WNEW, plays the hits, okay. 98.5. Here comes adding a new section 300. Notwithstanding any other provision, we've got this language, a law, one charter school authorizing board upon the effective date of which this act in the western half of Wyoming, in addition to the 4 charter schools authorized pursuant to 2023 Wyoming Session Law, Chapter 179, Section 4.
So question on that, I'm not sure that we have any charter schools currently. This would allow us to do that, is that correct?
We've got 2 in place, third one about to come.
In
place.
western Wyoming?
No.
Yeah, no, one in, not western Wyoming, one in Casper.
Yeah,
It's
that's my
open now.
point. We're gonna let the western side of the state participate a little more.
Correct. And this is a great one. It's going to pull some pressure off the
Great.
elementary too.
Okay, any questions? Those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed, if any?
Okay.
Mr. Chairman. Speaker Summers, please.
Mr. Chairman, on item number 99, I would move to delete Senate third reading amendment 30, which would have removed the 20 million for the Wyoming Tomorrow Scholarship. So what the effect of this motion, the 20 million would remain in effect for the Wyoming Tomorrow Scholarship Endowment Fund, just as it was in the original budget.
Questions? Those in favor of that motion, raise your hand. Those opposed, if any? One opposed? Thank you. Committee on item 100, I move that we delete Senate third reading 31, and that deletes the effective immediately date, I believe, and no longer, and is no longer necessary.
Second.
And I think that applies to item 101 too.
Second on both.
Okay. So item 101 removes that language on the mockets, so Those in favor of that motion? Please.
Section,
Those opposed, if any.
go ahead.
I forgot to ask if there's any in opposition. President Driscoll.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Item number 102, Senate Second Reading Amendment number 48. This has to do with decreasing, it's a $10 million transfer from the general fund for the Wyoming State Museum construction account. This is a delete and further amend, and we cut that in half to $5 million. I'd ask for your approval.
Second by Summers. Questions, committee questions? Those in favor, please raise your hand.
The State Museum account.
Those opposed, if any? 2, 3,
Mr. Chairman.
please.
Item number 103, this is House Second Reading Amendment number 33. This has to do with the 988 trust fund account, which is the suicide hotline. The House action was to fund it at $40 million. The proposal is to delete and further amend to cut it in half, once again, to cut it to $20 million. So leave it funded to the tune of $20 million, which is half of what the amendment was.
Okay. Second by Chairman Nethercott. Those in favor of that motion, please raise your hand. Those opposed, if any. Thank you. I think on 104, Chairman Nethercott, you'd done that previously.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman. So I think we're on item number 105,
Correct.
which is to adopt the Senate Second Reading Amendment number 45, or number 49, excuse me, which was to delete the definition of average daily membership in the budget bill, which did modify statute.
Okay. I think we've had that conversation. Those in favor of that motion, would you raise your hand, please? Those opposed, if any?
And so, Mr. Chairman, if I can, to provide clarification to some of the school folks in the room that are looking, the definition of average daily membership will stay the same.
As it currently is.
Nothing will be changing.
So, folks, I would move to adopt or delete. I'm adopting on. I've been so screwed up on this. I'd move to adopt item 106, which is third reading amendment 36, which authorizes the use for the money previously put into the state hospital demolition account. Those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed, if any. No from Senator Jones. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Guru.
number 107, which is Senate Third Reading Amendment 35, move to delete. So just to walk through it, so these were decreasing and increasing, we're just deleting this amendment, 107, Senate Third Reading Amendment 35.
Okay, second by Summers. Questions on that amendment? That's back to the JAC position, I believe, on the budget bill. Those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed, if any. Would you take 108? Delete that
Mr.
backflow
Chairman?
preventer. Or, please.
Number 108,
There we go.
Senate Third Reading Amendment 35.02, delete.
Delete, so that's okay. Any questions on that? It's deleting 8 million out of the budget. Those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed, if any,
Mr. Chairman,
please.
I'd move item number 109. This is Senate Third Reading Amendment number 36 to the Section 300, This is, the action of the Senate was to increase by $108 million the permanent mental trust fund by amending section 314 to delete the secondary cap to the severance tax distribution and direct that to the permanent mental trust fund. And it decreases by $108 million to the common schools account. This basically reverses that back to the way it was. So I'd ask for favorable consideration.
Second? I have a second, and this is the way it currently is in statute.
Correct.
Okay, any conversation, questions? Those in favor of that motion, raise your hand. Those opposed, if any. One opposed, Jones, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Please.
I'd move item number 110. This is Senate third reading amendment number 38. This has to do with, to delete. This deletes section number 314 that creates a secondary distribution on the minimum royalties over a certain amount in 25 and 26. So I'd move to delete.
Second by Summers. Those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed, if any. Jones opposed, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Please.
I'd move number 111. This is Senate file third reading number 39. I'd delete and further amend. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the elimination of dollars to fund a university research project. And I'd further amend by reducing the amount of funding to $50 million.
That's been second. The 25 million then would revert,
Correct.
I believe. Okay, any questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Please.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, to the bringer, would there be a possibility of adding a little language to that would indicate that the trustees would create a policy as to how other students, faculty, and departments might be able to access the Center for Flow-Through Porous Media?
The high bay.
I believe that language is already in the budget, is it not? It's not?
I would second that.
That's a friendly amendment.
A little closer to your mic, please, Madam Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I do believe the language is already there.
Could we verify, do you know that, Dawn, by chance?
There is language that requires the research done with these funds to include university students, graduate students, to include porous space in Wyoming, that sort of thing. I understood Representative Walter's amendment to be a little different, to have the equipment accessible to other faculty on campus.
Mr. Chairman, that's correct, based on a policy that the trustees would establish to create that action.
And it's a friendly amendment. Yep.
So. Second to the minute, conversation? Questions? So Senator Dockstader couldn't quite hear you there. Could you get a little closer?
Clarification on that. What are we doing with this?
They want them to share.
On the amendment?
It says that, share their equipment, the other part.
So on the amendment, okay. Those in favor of that motion, raise your hand. Those opposed, if any. Motion carries. I think that takes care of that page. We're on item 100, right? On item 100,
112.
or excuse me, 112, that should have finished page 9, staff, right? We're on page 9 now. 112. So, yeah. So this is a delete and further amend. I would reduce, this is on the appropriation to the Office of the Governor for Large Project Energy Matching Funds, and I would reduce that 200, I would change that 200 million that we had, which was S10, down to 150, S10 being the LSRA, I believe, and change that amount to 150 million and make that from general funds that instead of going to the reserve account would be set aside for that use. Conversation? Questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Please.
I just, so I understand, the 200 million for large project energy matching funds is being reduced to 150 million, and the source of those funds would be funds that would otherwise have gone into the Permanent Wyoming Mineral Trust Fund reserve account. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Those in favor of that motion, raise your hand. Those opposed, if any? Senator Grew, was that a yea or a nay? Thank you. Okay, you're on 113. Please, Chairman Nicholas.
I would move section number 113, and delete and further amend, and ladies and gentlemen, you should have the amendment emailed to you. I don't know if it was circulated. It's about to be circulated. And so it's being passed out now, but basically this amends page 139, line 26. It deletes section 33A and B, and then it inserts 33B. And at line 142, line 24 through 28, it deletes entirely. On page 143, line 2 through 10, it reinserts all the stricken language deleted and deletes all the new language. And then at page 143, line 14, after 4, you insert facilities that are included on the National Park Service's National Register of Historic Places or as a National Historic Landmark in, then after town, insert with a population of less than 1,500.
Okay, we see a copy of the amendment, or the language of that amendment, or the new language in that question.
Mr. Chairman,
Please.
so the effect of this amendment, is it so that all of the funds in this section are then subject to this condition, or is it just the first 2.695 million that are subject to this condition?
So the question is the amount. I think it's the first.
Mr. Chairman, there are two pieces of this. The first piece is 2.7 million total, and it is basically goes back to current law, which means any project that is eligible for the Wyoming Community Facilities Program, which is a statutory program. This applies only to subsection B, which is approximately $2.8 million, and it is very specific as to the recipients. Now, before I go on, there was an amendment on the House side that would have addressed the entirety of this, and it would not have gone through the Community Facilities Program. It just would have created a pot of approximately $6 million available for any interest. So right now you have 2.7 million in the Community Facilities Program and I'm going to call it 8 million for a specific purpose.
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Okay, those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Those opposed, if any. 2 opposed. Dockstader, Jones, please. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Chairman Nicholas.
I would move 114. This is Senate File, second reading amendment number 53, and move to delete, which decreases 150,000 in section 320, provide appropriation for external consultants to review the audit performance of the staff, State Treasurer's Office in Wyoming. So actually, so this deletes that Senate amendment and brings it back. Is that right, Don?
That is correct.
Right.
You want to do 115, 116 while you're at it? So on 114,
Yep.
those in favor of that motion, raise your hand, please. Those opposed, if any?
Mr. Chairman?
Jones, thank you. Senator Dockstader, was you a no on that one? Thank you. Chairman Nicholas.
Thank you. I move item number 115, and move to adopt, which is House Bill, second reading amendment number 41. This establishes the Section 300 benchmarks It amends Section 320 to require Management Council in consultation with the governor to approve external consultants to review audit of benchmarks.
Okay, everybody understand? Those in favor of that motion, raise your hand. Those opposed, if any. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move Unit 1, item number 116, and move to adopt. House Second Amendment number 75. Once again, this is on the Section 300 on your state budget system review, and it amends Section 321 to include the governor's office and review the state's budgets management and reporting system.
Okay, second. Those in favor of that motion, raise your hand. And those opposed, if any. Thank you. Any other motions on this page? Please, just Senator Dockstader, I'm going to have you get a little more friendly with that mic, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, great.
Item number 117, Senate reading, third reading amendment number 44. This is under Board Land Commissioners, and this specifies the conditions of the sale, Kelly parcel that they allow for hunting and leases for livestock grazing, and the federal government will be responsible for all fence replacement and maintenance costs. The motion is to delete.
Okay, seconded by Guru. Those in favor of that motion, raise your hand, please. Those opposed, if any. Thank you.
And, Mr. Chairman, item number 118, House third reading amendment number 76 under Board of Land Commissioners. This specifies the proceeds of the sale may be used to acquire private or federal lands, area commonly called the checkerboard area in southwest Wyoming, and further specifies the condition of the sale and allows the governor to coordinate that with the U.S. Bureau of Land Management. And the motion is to adopt.
Okay, you've heard the motion. It's been seconded. Those in favor of that motion, raise your hand. Those opposed.
Mr. Chairman, under item number 119, motion is to adopt third reading amendment, House third reading amendment number 86 to the Board of Land Commissioners. Specifies the conditions of the sale shall require that the Kelly parcel shall be leased for livestock grazing and shall be available for public hunting in perpetuity.
Second, would you, did we like that language? Okay. I was wondering if we needed to amend, we talked about perpetuity and perpetuity for the other day. And so with that, we're going to stick with perpetuity, so.
Okay. Motion to
Those in
adopt.
favor of that motion, please raise your hand. Those opposed, if any. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Chairman Nethercott.
I would move to adopt Senate second reading amendment number 54, which reduces the general fund appropriation of $3.4 million to the state auditor's office to pay for a portion of the employee's retirement contribution for fiscal years 25 and 26.
Second by Nicholas. Those in favor of that motion, raise your hands. Those opposed, if any.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, this is verifiable. That should have everything on page 10 addressed. Okay, please.
item number 121, I'd move to deny the Senate third reading amendment number 46, which is the deletion of the appropriation of the enterprise inflation funds.
Okay, second by Nicholas. We've had discussion on this, educating ourselves. All those in favor of that motion, raise their hand. Thank you. On those opposed, thank you, somebody said. Thank you. Appreciate that. Senator Jones. Move to, on item 122, which is to increase 95,000 to create, to distribute to county clerks for voter education. A motion would be to delete. Those in favor of that motion, please raise your hand. Those opposed, if any?
Mr. Chairman,
Chairman Nethercott, please.
item number 123, I would delete and further amend Senate third reading amendment number 48, which is the $18.3 million for employee compensation. I would amend that by a reduction of half for an appropriation of $9,159,375. Should be effective after July 1st, 2025.
So just for clarification, Senator Nethercott, I believe during our Appropriations Committee, the request from the governor was around 36 million. We cut that in half. And your motion is to reduce that in half again and then to make that available in 2025.
Correct.
Everybody understand the motion? Those in favor of the motion, raise their hand. Those opposed, if any. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Speaker Summers.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to delete House second reading amendment number 46, which is the increase in the payout on the Hathaway.
Second by Nicholas. Those in favor of that motion, raise your hand. Those opposed, if any.
Mr. Chairman, we're on item number 125, which I've been looking at.
Yeah, I think that's correct. Yeah.
I would move to delete item number 125, which added a section 330 to specify that the governor shall identify 42 full-time equivalent positions. And I would delete and further amend that based on the number that I no longer have in my notes currently, which I think is 24 positions from 42, if I'm correct about that.
Okay.
I'm getting the head nods about my 24 positions from my memory. So for clarity, on item number 25, we are deleting and further amending
That's fine. That's great.
the addition of requiring the governor to identify 42 full-time equivalent positions that, if eliminated or unfulfilled, would generate not less than $3.6 million of annual savings. We're reducing that down to 24.
Please.
Thank you. Just wanted for clarification, the 3.6 million would be reduced in a corresponding amount based on that $87,000 salary
Right.
to correspond with the 24 positions versus the
That is my-
42, is that correct?
That is correct, that's my motion.
Thank you. Everybody understand the motion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. Those opposed, if any. Please.
Item number 126, which is House third reading amendment number 47. This has to do with law enforcement duty-related death benefit. This amendment increased for the period of the budget monthly death benefit 90%. This is delete and further amend, and this amendment would say contingent on legislation that has a similar effect. So if legislation passes a similar effect, this section goes away. Otherwise, it stands for the.
Okay, I think we understand that. I think that's in a bill. That bill is in the process.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Those in favor of this motion, raise your hand. Those opposed, if any. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Speaker Summers.
Mr. Chairman, on item number 127, I would move to delete and further amend House third reading amendment number 50, which was mental health grants for K-12 from the $18,500,000 of school foundation down to $15 million school foundation.
Second by Nicholas. Those in favor of that motion, please raise your hand. Those opposed, if any. Okay.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. On item 128, I would move to delete item 128. If I have a second, I'll explain. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There is a bill in the process, going through the process that should allow the creation of the tourism and recreation and tourism process and granting process. And so this will allow that bill will allow these funds to be expended versus doing it through the budget process. And so again, delete item 128 is my motion.
Okay, those in favor of that motion, raise your hand. Those opposed, if any. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Representative Stith.
on item 129, I would move to delete Senate third reading amendment number 54, and with a second, I can explain. Second. Mr.
Please
Chairman.
explain.
So there are a couple things going on in this Senate third reading amendment 54. One is to reduce the spending policy amounts for both of our permanent funds from 5% to 4.5%. And the other thing going on is for just the fiscal years 25 and 26, to take 1/2 of the income from the respective reserve accounts from our permanent funds, that 1/2 of it would remain in the fund and the other 1/2 would go to the respective corpuses of those funds. So there's a lot of, although there's no specific dollar amount, it has a very substantial, there are two things going on. One is that it changes statute, and that's the biggest problem with this item 129. And the other thing is it has a very substantial financial impact, about $141 million on the spending policy amount side.
Okay. Second. Got it. Those in favor of that motion, raise your hand. Those opposed, if any. Jones, thank you. I think that has us done on page 11. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman?
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Moving on to item 130, I move to delete item 130.
Seconded by Nicholas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All the actions that take place in item 130 are related to the removal of the SIPA account, Strategic Investment Projects account. And the struggle with doing this in the budget bill is it carries a huge administrative cost, because there are existing projects outside of what we've seen within this budget bill from previous legislative appropriations that are spending out of this account that would be required to administratively be moved into the general fund, and then in 2 years, any remaining portions for those projects would then have to be moved back into the SIPA account. And so it just doesn't functionally make sense to do this for the period of 2 years. If we're going to do it, we can certainly have the discussion, but if we're going to do it, it needs to be done in a more permanent fashion because of the large administrative costs to doing this over a 2-year period. It's pound foolish and penny wise, or vice versa.
So, second by Nicholas. Representative Walters, it sticks in my mind that in Cap Fin there was a bill in doing that. There was like a 3-year phase-in period to do something that we're trying to do.
Mr. Chairman, there were discussions in that committee on how we might accommodate these kind of changes. It didn't make it to introduction anyhow. Didn't make it even, I don't even believe it was filed. But the conversations are ongoing. That committee is continuing to address the concerns that this legislature and even the chief executive has expressed about multiple accounts within the state financing world. And so we'll continue to have those discussions, but certainly doing it for a 2-year period is just too, as I said, too administratively expensive to really make it a wise idea for this body.
Thank you. Those in favor of that motion, please raise your hand. Those opposed, if any. Jones, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Please.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to, on item number 131, I would move to delete Senate third reading amendment number 56. And what this amendment, Senate amendment did was it broke it basically broke the backstop for the school foundation program with the LSRA. So currently in statute, the LSRA backs up the school foundation program. And this amendment would have bifurcated, would have stopped that backstop. So that's my motion.
Again, this deletes speakers.
It deletes Senate third reading amendment 56, which would have created that, they would have deleted that backstop for 2 years.
Thank you. Those in favor of that motion, raise your hand. Those opposed, if any. Dockstader, thank you. The last two items, folks, are the motions that we had. They were similar motions on the House and Senate concerning how given authority to the governor to obligate and dedicate the American Rescue Plans that might be reappropriated or reobligated. My motion would be to delete House Third Reading Amendment number 55, that's item number 33, and then to adopt the Senate version, Senate Third Reading 50, and further amend that language in there to, if we may, to, and I'll give this to the, as we've looked and we've worked with the governor's office on this, we want to say something to the effect that the governor may identify and revert any unexpended, unobligated funds. We'll insert that. And then the office of the governor shall revert on April 1st, 2024 to the office of the governor and are reappropriated to the governor for, and I think we can also pull, I want to make sure, Don, if we can on this language, if we need that April 1st date, if that's necessary, if we can just reallocate as they become available, and we'll clean that up. And really what I'm trying to do is just put a chain and boomer on this to make sure that as we head this down the track, that the governor's office has the ability to comply with Treasury guidance and get these funds out the door to where we don't have any, that we're not sending any back. And then I'd like to put language in there that the action in the budget bill has precedence over any other law.
Second.
Thank you. Those, on that motion, those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed, if any.
Mr. Chairman?
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to move that, and my motion is to give our staff the latitude to make any technical corrections necessary to effectuate the actions that have taken place today, knowing that time is becoming short this session, just so that we don't have to come back and meet again for a comma or a capital T or a dotted I of some kind, and I'd just like to give them some latitude to make those technical corrections.
And can I do a friendly amendment to that? And so that if there are any questions that you feel necessary, that they could go to the co-chairs to resolve.
Friendly amendment.
Very friendly.
Second by Summers. Those in favor of that motion, please raise your hand. Those opposed, if any.
Mr. Co-chair, Mr.
Please,
Chairman?
please.
I would just move that we adopt and all of the amendments as, and pass the budget as amended.
Okay, you hear the motion?
I think that's, you're just, Mr. Chairman? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the motion is just to confirm the actions we just took. Is that correct? Correct. We're just confirming the actions we took.
Okay. Those in favor of that motion, raise your hand. Those opposed, if any. So, Mr. Richards, if you would, I don't see, unless you're aware of any other action that we failed to take that we need to do, we would want to do that first, and then would like some guidance or some thoughts from you on required staff time and next actions. Please.
Mr. Chairman, I do have two items, and maybe staff have others. On page 4, item number 53, it brought to my attention your action on the ARPA amendments, as well as the law enforcement retirement amendment. There is legislation pending on the preschool individuals with developmental disabilities. What is your preference as to
This would take precedence, please. Yeah, I'd like to make the motion. Thank you. I'd like to make the motion that the action we took on item 53 takes precedence. Those in favor of that motion, please raise your hand. Then the next one was on which item?
Mr. Chairman, the next comment I have is just a discussion about timing. It would be our preference to have 36 to 48 hours to do this. If that's not possible, a deadline would be preferable.
We are. Yeah,
Mr.
no,
Chairman.
I don't think, we wanted to try and get this done today to where you had ample time, so.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yes.
So just for my knowledge, when would we expect that to come, when would we expect that to come back then? 36, 48 hours, so we'd be looking at
Friday morning?
Friday morning, Thursday?
Yes, excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Please.
Representative Summers, Friday morning would be ideal. We can turn the report around rather quickly, just to explain our process. What we'd like to do is cheat the bill in itself, because once you accumulate all of these amendments, you often find, we have a conflict or a double amendment or something like that. So we actually write the bill at the same time as we write the report. The report will be, around, 20 pages or something. That won't take that long. It's the rewriting of the budget bill that helps us to identify errors. If you did want to, and I know I'm pressing my folks, but if you did want to meet, say, tomorrow afternoon upon adjournment option, and I could advise you as to the blanks on Representative Nicholas's motion, for example. He left, I believe his motion was the smallest amount possible. So we could share those numbers with you if you wanted. I'm not suggesting the text will be ready for your signature until the following day.
So just to get an idea as speaker, probably Friday afternoon, we would present this on the floor. Is that kind of how how it would play out, more or less?
Mr. Chairman, you could do Thursday afternoon or Friday morning.
Okay.
And it takes about 4 to 6 hours to do. Each side has to present it onto the floor. And then once that is presented, it has to, even though we've cheated the final bill in, it has to go through our fiscal proofing process and then get sent out to you for your signatures as well. So everyone forgets that few hours there.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. Cook? On Thursday, that would be the most efficient. All right.
And Mr. Chairman,
Please.
we also work at your pleasure. So knowing how difficult this is on the time crunch that we're on, but we do have time because we were able to get this out today on Tuesday night and just powered through this day. You have a little bit of breathing room, I think, and we will work with you to make sure we all feel confident about the quality of the product and you're able to be rested.
Mr. Chairman?
Please, Senator
Don,
Dockstader.
you're comfortable with this time frame? Everything's good with your staff, with you, with everything?
Yes.
Great.
Okay. Madam Chairman, closing thoughts?
Committee, I appreciate all your hard work. I know this has been pretty stressful and pretty fast, and particularly for Senator Jones and Senator Dockstader. Appreciate the pivoting and the heavy lifting you've done today. I hope that we fulfill any confidence that you have with us and you're able to help support this on the floor. I know it's been difficult and very fast, but appreciate your support here today and all the work that you've done hopefully we've done a good product for the people of Wyoming. I think that we have, and I'm proud of the work that we've done.
Thank you.
It's nice to see Senator Dockstader back on these seats over here.
Yes.
Thank you, staff. Thank you. Thank you, those of you that are watching. You've been very patient with us and kind. Thank you. Adjourned.